The Time Trilogy is a 3-video project I wrote and directed in Southampton. The task was to make a series of 3 short films. We could either tell separate stories or make one story split into 3 films. I decided to make a whole story. Because of the restrictions and lockdown caused by COVID-19, it was a challenge to figure out what story I could come up with. The idea was about a person who is haunted by his past and future versions of himself. I casted myself as the actor in the project, since it would be a struggle to go out and find an actor during this time. I based the story at the Deanery Hall, in my room and in the kitchen. I chose to use my own Sony FDR AX33 Handycam and tripod. I used a Boya microphone in the 2 first films. To create the effect that I played different characters in one room, I used a technique called split screen effect. I filmed myself several times, edited and cleaned the shots together. I mean, we have an audience. Audience? What are you talking about? International audience. Jeez. Oh. I was very inspired by David F. Sandberg, director of Lights Out, Annabelle Creation and Shazam. The main inspiration from his work came from his short film Lights Out, where he used split screen to show a monster in the dark. Inspired by Lights Out, I learned this technique by myself. I used it later on in short films and got more experienced with it before I made the Time Trilogy. The filming was challenging since I had to play the characters, look through the clips and calculate the reactions to the characters when they all were in the same shot. I made a second cut of Past, where some dialogue was edited down and some music background was added to give the film a new impression. The music was found on Universal Publishing Production Music Scandinavia IB. The ending on the Past got a music piece that was haunting and mysterious. I wanted to give a to be continued vibe to the audience to wake up their curiosity and hopefully get them interested in what was going on and to look forward to what was coming next. To write a sequel to one of my short films was quite unusual for me to do. I always said to myself that if I ever was going to make sequels, I should write an expanding story that should be a whole universe and not becoming episodic for each sequel. Ironically, I never started doing that when I wrote the first film. I struggled a little bit with how I wanted it to continue from past to present and keep the spirit from past. Present was shot in one day in my room and in the kitchen. When I came back to Norway in early December, I decided that the third film should take place in my home. It was a nice way to give the third film a new and different look, and to give it a climatic and satisfying end. Before I wrote the third film, I got a Rode microphone, I installed it on my camera and dubbed the dialogue for Present, the second film. I listened to the second film and repeated the dialogue which I later used in the final version.
I swear if you're going to film me one more time, I'm going to freak out.
I swear if you're going to film me one more time, I'm going to freak out. I swear, if you're going to film me one more time, I'm going to freak out. Why are you so harsh to me all the time? All the sound backgrounds, like the doors, was also recorded from the Rode mic before I placed the new recordings in the Present. Bye Bye Boya. The music heard in the end was made by me using my own keyboard. Look who we have here. Looks like we have a lot to talk about. The third film took place in the basement at home and was shot in one day. The challenging part during filming was calculating the reactions and the dialogue when all the 3 characters were in the same shot around the table together. I had to change some parts in the editing because I forgot to film some small sequences when they talked together in one shot. One example is when the future talks Norwegian to the present.
Så velkommen hjem. I mean, what language is that? Norsk? Men vi er jo I Norge nå.
I almost cut the scene out, but I later changed my mind by letting the past come unexpectedly to the dinner table in the beginning as a little nod to the first film where he comes out like a troll in a box to taunt the present. The other example is when the future reminds the present about the funny moments the past had done. This was supposed to be a wide shot where the future points at the past when they talk about it.
By the way, this guy over here really did make a few laughs, didn't he?
The reason why I forgot some of the wide shots was because I shot the film without storyboards. Something I did not do when I made the 2 first. I had made a short list and knew exactly what each shot was going to look like. Because of time constraints and since I wanted the project to be done, I completely forgot it.
By the way, this guy over here really did make a few laughs, didn't he?
The last sequence in the third film, Future, was inspired from Charlie Chaplin's Gold Rush from 1925. The reason why I chose to make this scene was to show that you cannot change the past, but there are always memories you can look back at and remember with joy and laughter. It was difficult to find a music piece that could match the dance sequence. Luckily, I looked at iMovie and found a piece that was playful and innocent.
Exactly. Maybe you're right about something there.
I felt the production was a roller coaster ride when I made the 3 shorts. The shooting proved to be challenging and sometimes I was too self-critical. I originally wanted to use my own music in the films as I used keyboard in the present, but I realized that I had to go the simple way, which was finding music on the internet, even if it bothers me sometimes when it comes to licensing. I realized that I had a lot of possibilities when I worked on the Mac I have at home than the smaller one I used to edit the first 2 films. I had a lot of fun writing the stories and incorporate themes in films with a comedic undertone. What could have been improved is the split screen on the 2 first films, especially past, since there are some details that reveal that I have placed them together, the overexposed lighting in the room, the color grades and the sound. Anyway, I still think that I made a nice trilogy and that it brought thought-provoking messages, humor, a soul and a heart. I believe that the short films are made for everyone who struggles to find out where they are in life, to always look out for possibilities, even if it's difficult and you want to give up, to be focused and strong, and always stay true to yourself.